Starring Drew Harrison and Will Abeles.
Welcome back to another. Oh, what did Blair tell me? You know, it doesn't matter. Another episode of My Funny Friends. I am one of your two hosts, the sweaty yet athletic Will Abeles, and I'm here with my dear friend Drew Harrison. Hi, Drew.
Hey, buddy. I love that this is episode number 31, and we are at Will Abel's location number 31.
I think the very first one we did, I was at my parents' house in Hagerstown.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at another dog's place.
Mm-hmm.
I was on my porch.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Asheville. I was multiple dogs' places. Sometimes I'm actually at my apartment, which is pretty exciting.
Or outside your apartment.
And honestly, no, Saturday we'll be here too. The next recording will be here as well.
Yeah. I just don't know how you go from sleeping outside in the mulch in Asheville to staying in places that have such elegant staircases like that.
Well, the reason that people have been, and a lot of people actually have been telling me I should run for president is because
who's doing that to you?
I've done all types of people, lots of people.
Please stop, everyone. Please stop.
It's because they know it's all walks of life is this guy.
You got to be 35.
I'm a year away. I'll be 35 before the next election. I've already done.
Oh, you've okay. I don't want to. Okay, Jesus Christ! I see you've done the research.
You don't listen to you don't subscribe to my Patreon podcast. That I just
is this what outed me? I'm sorry.
Where I talked about it, where I talk about how I could actually run for president next election cycle.
Okay, that's terrifying. But
it's terrifying.
It's probably what America deserves at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Vote for Will Abeles. It's what we deserve.
Yeah, this will be like when I ran for SGA vice president all over again, except for this time I'm coming for
win?
peeps.
Did you win president?
I got second, but I was told that all the ballots were the same. So they voted for everybody. And I was told by someone that was counting the ballots that if someone voted for Yoda for treasurer, then they threw the whole ballot out. And a lot of my voters voted for Yoda for treasurer. It was vote for vice president, Yoda for treasurer.
Did you tell them to? That's probably what it got you.
I didn't tell them to vote for Yoda. I said, guys, vote. If you want some serious change, if you guys want some serious change, vote for Will Abeles. That's what I said.
Well, we have a fantastic guest this week. This guy, I got to meet him doing shows in Charlotte, and we went to this random pizza / karaoke nightlife place afterwards and just bonded forever there. I don't know. It's Charlotte. It's got weird stuff. But this guy is the host of the Comedy Zones podcast. You can see him touring all over. I think he was just in our neck of the woods in Tennessee, like a week or two ago. So it's the very funny, always delightful Jason Allen King. What's up, buddy?
I'm gonna clap for myself. I'm a self supporter.
If you don't support yourself, who does? You know,
who's gonna? You know, it's
right.
Me and my mom.
Yes, right.
Your mom still supports you. That makes
yeah.
No, my mom's very supportive. She's actually one of my only Patreon subscribers.
That's nice. That's so nice. See, you have your mom. You don't need me. Look at you.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think of Will's also nice little digs behind him?
That's pretty sharp. Those are fancy balusters there.
Right? You got a little swirly thing in the middle. That's
I didn't know that's what those were called. So now I'm pretty excited.
You call yourself an Eagle Scout and you don't know the fine arts of staircase making?
I don't think there was probably a staircase making merit badge, but I unfortunately didn't.
There was.
I thought to be Eagle Scout, you had to get all the badges, every single one of them. No,
there's a certain amount that are required, and then you need to get like an additional 7 or 8 maybe, and you get to just pick them. Like I did welding, I did plumbing. I got a plumbing merit badge.
Wow.
See, I lost a little bit of respect for Eagle Scouts, man. I thought you had to get every single one that was out there.
I mean, you can, but then you wake up and you don't have any friends, and you realize that you wasted your entire high school career just chasing merit badges. Do I know someone that did that? Yeah. Do I know what they're doing now? No.
Did you have to go on a vision quest or anything like that?
No, I never had to go on a vision
part
quest,
of it?
but to get the Arrow of Light, which was another, no, not the Arrow of Light.
Okay.
That sounds literally like a vision quest badge name. That's
I saw this arrow of light.
I think actually,
and then I knew that life was like being an eagle, and that's why we do this. That's what it is. I'm pretty
I
sure.
could soar. Actually, I think I'm mixing back. I think Arrow of Light was Cub Scouts.
Okay. See,
Order of the
you're supposed
Arrow.
to know
Order of
these
the
things
Arrow.
forever, dude. Come on.
Order of the Arrow was the one that you sort of almost go on a vision quest.
All right, now it feels like a class at Hogwarts. I don't know.
See?
I think you're making this stuff up. Will,
I think he is too.
It always comes back to Hogwarts.
I'm not the first comic to bring up Hogwarts on
Oh
your show.
no,
That's
no,
amazing.
no! Oh,
it
man.
gets hostile. It gets hostile.
Really?
Will and Harry Potter have a dark past,
It's
Not a
even
fan.
especially here in
Like
Nashville.
huge fan.
No, he's a fan.
you're a huge
we
fan.
hate that he's a fan.
Here in
Everyone in
Nashville,
Nashville hates that he even knows
Oh.
anything about Harry Potter.
yeah,
This
it
is
is
amazing.
becoming a thing, right? And we've talked about it on here, but I show up at the mics, and if I'm in a bad mood, they're getting the Harry Potter joke.
They're getting Harry Potter.
And then
I gotta
everyone's in a
come there
bad
and
mood.
be your
That's
support,
great.
man.
Yeah.
I want to come be. I want to be your guy. I will
People
be-
have screamed that they would cause him physical harm
Yeah.
if he
Really?
continued with the joke.
Mostly
that
women.
makes me wonder what's wrong with Nashville. What's going on there?
We don't like it.
Apparently not.
With the wizard and the witchcraft. It's
it.
not Christian.
Jesus said no.
Yeah, well, I got to be honest. Jesus was not a muggle. I don't know what y'all think, but
It's the only
all the
wizard out
stories
there.
make sense if you think about it.
See,
Not a
Yeah.
muggle.
see, I think it's half people hate Harry Potter and 75% people just don't want to see anything bring Will joy.
Look at that math there. Half. It's 125% of hating Will.
Yeah. That's the percentage we give to you every day, So it's cool.
Nice.
Well, Jason, we always like to start, man. What, when and where and what reasoning did you start
All right, so
stand-up comedy?
So stand up, yeah, stand up for me came. So I work in the film world, and I have for about 20 years. I as a filmmaker.
So film
and-
came first.
Yeah, film came
Okay.
first. I always wanted to be a screenwriter. That's kind of
Gotcha.
my-
That's what I want to do.
from a young age, it was always I watched Pump Up the Volume, and I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. How do you do that? How do you be a part of that world? And so I just I didn't really chase. I got an English degree, but I never really chased screenwriting. I just consumed as much movies and TV as that I could. And then I moved to Charlotte. And Charlotte actually has a pretty fair film sort of industry here, from commercials and movies and stuff. So
That's awesome.
so I got into doing that. And then a buddy of mine, John Schwert, we write and produce stuff together. We've done a couple feature films. We do a thing called George and Monty, which is a video series we've been doing for several years. And as much as I like doing those, I wanted to be better at it. So I wanted to be able to write better jokes, right? It's comedic, obviously. And so the Comedy Zone was having a stand-up class. So I just, my girlfriend at the time was like, you said you wanted to do this, let's go. So we took it together.
Oh, nice.
And
That's fun.
Johnny Millwater was one of the teachers, and
Yeah.
Joel Pace. Yeah, and I remember it was the second, so it's like a 6-7 week program. It was like 3 hours on a Sunday night. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And after the second class, I remember like leaning over to Lauren, just being like, this is a problem. This is a problem. How much fun and how much like easily I was putting effort in every day to write and to make this thing good. And it turned into, Joel and Johnny both kind of whispering me, pulling me aside, being like, you might want to think about doing it. Like, you're pretty good at this, and that,
And I mean, those
little bit of
people have been
motivation.
around for forever.
Yeah. And for me, that's I respond to positive motivation. I'm not a negative motivation guy. So that pushed me even further. And I told myself after the graduation class, I said, if I'm doing this, I'm still putting this much effort in 6 months, I'm doing it. I'm going all in, and
Awesome.
not all in as in quitting my job, but all in as in like, this is what
I'm living in
I will
a
put
van.
effort into this. Yeah.
And within 6 months, I say that I might be getting that wrong. Let's say a year, just so I don't sound like a liar. I actually won one of the competitions at the Comedy Zone. Like I just,
Ah,
my whole life changed after.
Yeah.
It was, I've had two epiphanies. One was actually getting into the film business when I came here and I volunteered for a job and driving home, falling asleep after like a 16-hour day, just like, oh, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I did the same thing with stand up. I was like, oh boy, I knew, like I said, 2 classes. I was like, I had that moment. I was like, holy shit, I do this now. And then in that 6 months or so, the people I hung out with changed. My daily activities changed. I used to think I was a writer. I wasn't a writer until I started doing stand up because I do it every day. And that's just what I do now, you know.
Yeah. Now where was home before Charlotte? Where did you where were you born and raised?
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So I was born in Pittsburgh, but I was pretty young. We moved up to Northeast PA, the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton area, which I don't know if you know
nice.
that. It's pretty small. It's pretty. Yeah. The town's called Mountaintop. So it's like,
Is
a lot of flannel.
Yeah.
High school.
Is there a camp there? Is there a camp at Mountaintop?
They're like a KOA kind of camp, or
like a Girl Scout camp or something.
Why are you asking about a Girl Scout?
I think my mom went to. I feel like my mom went to a Girl Scout camp called
Okay.
Mountaintop growing up.
It's very, very possible. There was a lot of that.
That
We
was
had
something to do
people
with
who were
the
trying
Eagle
to get all that stuff. And yeah, it was a great, very insulated, safe world for me to grow up. And the schools were good. And I'm the youngest of 5 in my family. So, you know, just start to attribute all of the baby of the family. I got all of that. I was made to feel like $1 million and, you know,
Were you a funny kid?
talk.
Like were you trying to crack everybody up at school?
I would say I was super like active. My mom would be like, he's a social butterfly. And I was like, that sounds pretty weak, Mom. How about I was a social dragon? How about
There
that?
you go. Yeah.
I was always talking, you know. I hate to use the word popular, but I was definitely like in a popular group. I played sports and I was just very involved with everything going on. So yeah, I was, you know,
Don't let anyone.
I don't know if I was the
shame
funniest
you,
kid, but I was definitely like, I wasn't backwards. I've never been that guy. I'm actually really sort of, you know, big personality.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, what got you down? Did you stay in Pennsylvania till you moved to Charlotte, or did you was there in between?
Yeah. No, you know, I went to West Virginia. Went to West Virginia University. Graduated from there. And
Nice.
I moved back home and I worked for it's a business they don't have them anymore. It's a newspaper. And I worked for
What is that?
for a couple of years. Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like the internet, but it doesn't move.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
So I worked for a newspaper. I worked in advertising. I wrote a little bit. I wasn't in journalism, but the best thing that happened was they let me go. You know, we got a new
Copywriter.
Publishing company, Knight Ritter, essentially got it. And that was the, you know, last man in, first man out. And the same week, both of my brothers called me. They had moved here a year and a half before me. They moved to Charlotte and they were like, yo, you're not seeing anybody. We love it here. Why don't you just come give it a shot? And my folks, ironically, this is all true, by the way, it's really weird. My folks were moving to Charlotte. So my parents, 2 different brothers, work brought them to Charlotte.
That's
all in
crazy.
like a 2 or 3 year period. So I just kind of moved my stuff back with the folks and moved in with them, you know, down here.
Yeah. I mean, Charlotte blew up so fast. So that makes a lot of sense that they were absorbing so many people.
For sure.
I remember like you didn't think about Charlotte when I was a kid. Like we did, like I grew up in 2 hours. I grew up 2 hours from Charlotte, an hour from Raleigh. So kind of like that triangle, like Southern Pines. And we would always we'd go to Charlotte. Like I remember we went to a Hornets game, but like there was nothing else. Like I don't remember going to Charlotte. Like no one was like, "Hey, we should go to Charlotte." And then all of a sudden, it's this great city, and I've had a blast in Charlotte.
It's kind of cool. There's some things about it people think are uncool. It being the banking city and things like that. And
I do hate it's called Uptown. Not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I've never really quite understood that either. And it's definitely sort of not as cool in terms of its reputation as Raleigh or even Greensboro or anything like that. It's just because we got the banks and everyone dresses in ties and it can be stuffy and they don't support the arts as much as I wish they would here. But it's been really, really good to me, man, for 20 years. My sister lives here now. My niece,
Got the whole squad.
Everyone's there. Yeah, that's
it's
great.
so crazy. Everybody moved here, man. I'm a big family guy. I'm young, like I said, youngest of 5 mistakes, and so we're all pretty much here. One brother still lives up there. Yeah,
Holdout. He's holding out.
he said he's holding out. I don't know why. His son lives up there and his daughter. So.
Oh, okay. So he's. I like that you moved in with the folks and then like did your own version of like moving out, where you were like, yeah, no, I'm moving out to Charlotte with you. and moving back in. I love that.
I mean, sometimes all you got to do is show them you're making progress. You know?
Yeah.
That's all you do.
Well,
that's true. So
like my mom, I started community college when I not bought me another couple months when I moved back in. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I had the progress.
I think comics other people just probably get frustrated by my situation. My family, my brothers and sister are all best friends. My folks are so super supportive, and they're not blindly supportive, but
right.
You know, I said, hey, I think I'm going to start doing stand up. And my dad was kind of like, all right, well, how do we help you do that? I mean, it was literally like 3 seconds of that's a world I don't know.
Be so supportive.
Question.
Right. That's kind of how my dad is, where he's always just like when we talk about it, he's like, aren't you tired? I'm like, well, yeah, obviously I'm tired, but like, it's a lot of just like, well, Will, that's your world. And I don't really know. Cause he'll call me and he'll ask some questions that I'm like, what do you think I do? Like, it'll be like some wild stuff that like it's his heart's in the right place, but it's just like I don't what like I just need to get to the show. Like you know,
my mom's super supportive. Like she loves hearing about things, but she has no idea about this world. Like for the longest time, it was you still doing the comedy thing. I finally had a little bit of success. She's like, how's that going now? You know, she at least stepped out of the hobby phase in her mind, I guess.
Yeah, right. Well, that's good. That's a good thing. Yeah, they never. I think I was a little bit later starting in stand up, so I didn't really get that. But I've always said, like, film people sort of say this and feel this way too, that it's really more for your friends and family, the kind of this kind of work. And I think comedy's been very much the same thing. It's my mom gets to tell people that I've worked on this movie and now I'm doing stand-up play. So she gets to talk about it a little bit. And that sounds a little cocky, but I don't mean it that way. I think it's like,
no, it's proud. It's like, look what my son's doing. You know?
Yeah. He's doing all right.
Yeah.
Most people aren't that surprised. They'll be like, he's doing comedy. All right. Okay.
I can see that.
That's to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else was he going to do? There's also that.
Yeah. So how was it starting out? You did the class. You got the stamp of approval from some of the higher ups around you. So like, what was those first couple of months like fresh out there? Were there mics in Charlotte at the time? Were you just doing comedy zone stuff? Like what was your early days?
Yeah. So there were mics. We had the S&K Cafe, I guess. I think at that point it turned into Crown Station, which is kind of still going on. They moved venues and there was just some. It wasn't every night of the week, and I wasn't getting up at the Comedy Zone as much. Debbie Millwater was still putting on. She still does put on shows, so you do get on that stage every once in a while, and that's how I think showed. One of the contests that I had won. If you won that, you got to host a weekend.
Okay,
it's like a special. That's one of the prizes, and so I got to host for Jimmy Schubert and Zainab Johnson, if you remember Zainab Johnson. They were kind of hot off of that season. Yeah, it was. And again, that was just another like leveling up, having that experience of hosting at a proper club, like an A room.
Yeah.
And just being way in over my head.
I was about to say, how was that go? Like that far into it, just being like, what do I need? The rules? Yeah. What?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I will say again, I go back to this, that I was in my 30s when I started to do stand up. So for me, there was a degree of professional. I wore a blazer, right? And like I had, I'm like, kind of not buttoned up, tucked in, a little more casual, but I was like, I don't really know what. And I was seeing shows and no one was really doing it. I was like, I'm going to go professional and then back it down. Cause like I said, I had a career before that. And so I at least looked the part. They told me what I wanted, what I needed to say. And I hit that. The comedy was probably fine. I don't remember it being bad, but
That's good.
it probably was pretty bad.
Early on, as long as you don't remember terrible instances, I
Yeah.
can call it a win, you know?
Yeah, if you don't like
I
have
think
those
so.
cold sweats at night when you wake up and you're like, oh man, I hope no one ever sees that again.
My career's over before it
yeah.
gets started.
It's probably fine.
I will say I was smart, and I didn't post a lot of early like videos of my stand up.
Very smart.
I saw that and it kind of down the road going, if I keep doing this, no one's going to want to, I'm not going to want to see that garbage.
The good thing it wasn't popular when I started. You know, like you'd throw your
right.
sets up on YouTube every now and then, but like we were not promoting ourselves on social media the way you have to now. So I'm thankful for that.
Thankful
that it wasn't an option.
Yeah.
Like I definitely went back and took some made some clips private. Like, no, the world doesn't need to see this.
See, I'm doing the opposite. I'm like, you know what? Cancel me so someone talks about me.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit like that now, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's
then was just not the same, but yeah, now.
Yeah.
There's a quote from the Comedy Store documentary, which I've watched a couple different times now, where Ari Shaffir, I think Joe Rogan quotes Ari Shaffir saying, "Comedy's exciting again. You know, it's dangerous. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to lose," that kind of thing, which is I always appreciated that sort of attitude of like, oh, okay, it's dangerous again, and that means something.
Yeah. I mean,
I say I learned a couple things that first hosting gig. One of them is I time every set that I watch.
Okay.
At an open mic, at a professional club, whatever it is, because I remember, and it had to be one of the last shows. Jimmy Schubert came up to me because I'm sitting kind of at the end of the curtain because I don't want to get too far from the stage for whatever reason, and he's like, "Hey, is she on her closing bit? I got to go to the bathroom." And I was like, "Oh my God, I don't know." He was just like, "God," and you could tell he was mad. I don't think he was mad at me, but then he kind of went to the bathroom, and it worked out fine.
Yeah,
I felt about this big. I was like, man, I didn't have the answer for him. That told me I got to pay attention to what these closing bits are. Yeah. How much time have they been up there? And now I do it. I do it so much now that the folks at the Comedy Zone, if they don't know, they find me because they know I'm going to tell them what time it is, like how much time it is. I do. It's like now it's become a thing.
Those imprints early on are key.
Yeah,
man.
Like I remember the first weekend I ever got to do at Dead Crow, the headliner came up to me 3 minutes before the show and was like, "Hey, no crowd work." And I was like, "What? What?" Like I wasn't planning on it, but like for some reason my brain was like, "Well, no, I want to do crowd work." But I was like, what if that was my whole thing? Like, what if if I had no material at that point and I just did crowd work? Like, so now it stuck with me I to go to the headliner and be like, any do's, don'ts.
Yeah.
Just want to know.
I don't bring that dog's awesome in the background. I
probably about to go she's probably gonna take a shit up there. Don't you shit up there.
Do it.
She's like, oh, you see me. Oh, hey, how you doing, buddy? Just go back to doing what you're doing.
The whole green room situation, like all that stuff, I sort of slowly picked up on things, and I'm quiet most of the time until I do my first show. That's one of my sort of traits, is like I'm not going to go in there and yap. Like let me show that I can actually do this first. That's a big one for me. I don't take drinks into the green room until I know everybody there drinks. I don't like to take drinks in if you never know who's recovering.
Like, get that away from me.
Yeah, like it's presumptuous, I think.
Yeah.
I probably take all this stuff to a level that I shouldn't. It's probably very uncool.
I mean,
it sounds like it's better safe than sorry, you know? I mean, you do have those moments where you walk in and you're like, oh, okay, did not realize it was that deep. Sorry. Okay.
My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better to not have to apologize later on in the night. You know? So
Yeah, it's one of the, I'll never regret it. You know, like if people can think I'm a dork, I don't care. That doesn't bother me. But offending someone or putting someone in a.
It is a nice thing being a little bit older in the stand-up game. Like, call me a dork, please. I do not care.
Yeah. No way. I never take that stuff personally.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's a badge. It's an eagle badge of honor, I think is what it is. Being a dork, being a nerd. It just means you're more interesting. That's what I think. Because I don't think I've ever been cool. I'm not.
Right.
So for me, like doing stand up in these things and being, hospital corners, like I've had people mention it or whatever and be like, yep, I'm gonna write this down because I got a shitty memory. That probably writing down your. I don't care. All right, I'm not gonna get.
Do you
wrong,
want me to
though.
remember you or not?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you do do you do the kind of like, if it's a headliner that you haven't worked with before or anything, do you do the kind of like don't speak until spoken to sort of thing in the green room?
A little bit, yes.
Yeah.
I would say I'm not and you're not suggesting this, but I'm not afraid of anybody, but I'm definitely I'll make an introduction and I'll read. I'm a pretty decent hang in that way that I think I could read people fairly well. And I know if people want you in there or not, and they're interested in talking, but I will be quiet for the most part. It's not my, in those moments, not my room. So
yeah, because that's something that's still like, and I'm sure you're the same way. Like you can read, like when Drew and I were opening for Alonzo Bowden at Dead Crow, like the notebook comes out, he's writing. This is not the time to just chit chat, and it's still like blows my mind. Even like at a lower level, like I'll be at a show and my notebook's out and someone comes up and just starts chatting and you're like, this is like having my earbuds in. Like this is the universal sign in comedy to not talk to me right now. Like what do you think I'm doing? Yeah.
Let me get this thought out, please.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm very much the same way. Yeah, I'm usually in my book. You know what I mean? At least at a certain point, I'm like, all right, I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to, and that's sort of something that I've heard other people say. Being like, oh, that's not really cool in the green room, like whatever. I'm like, what? What am I?
Where else are you going to do this? Yeah.
What am I supposed to be doing?
For
weed? I don't care.
For something that's supposed to be so natural and free and loose, it has a lot of rules.
Oh, no shorts?
Yeah. No shorts. That's right. That's right.
I actually
shorts. I wear shorts to open mics all the time.
I didn't know that how serious that rule was. Even like I think pre-COVID it was a very, very serious rule. Now everyone's like, fuck, whatever. Like as long as we can get back.
If you don't book me because I'm wearing shorts at an open mic, then you didn't like me to begin with.
Right. And that's why I appreciate Sam Talent doubling down and wearing the tiniest shorts he can.
I love it, dude. And I'll have a pair of those shorts that he wears. They're so comfortable. So I understand why he wants to wear them on stage. They're great.
Yeah. Is this who is this? I don't think I know who this is.
Sam Talent. He's based out of Denver. And
he wears the little Nike running shorts. Like,
God, that's awesome.
And he's a bigger guy. So his yams are hanging out and I love it.
That's like Shakespeare. You got to learn the rules before you can break them. Clearly,
right.
Sam's
right. I mean, he wrote a book. He's been on Comedy Central. He's fine.
Yeah, there you go. I feel like I know the name. I couldn't place it. But
yeah.
That's funny. No shorts.
Yeah.
Just don't yell at people when they're wearing shorts at an open mic.
Right.
Calm down.
So what was like a big thing? Like, so you're doing the first little bit in Charlotte. Like, do you remember like the first like big show that you got to do where you're like, I'm a force in the Charlotte scene?
Well, I'm still won't fully subscribe to that, but I don't know. Let me think. Like, what's a big show? Like, I would say, so one of my favorites, Kyle Kinane, and I got to host for Kyle Kinane. Huge. And I remember that being a weekend. This is a few years ago, and I've worked for them since, which has been like amazing.
That's really cool.
And I remember that being a show where other comics were just filling up the place to see him. Like Dusty. I remember Dusty came, and I want to say Dusty might have done a guest set maybe. But I remember that being a time where the crowd was so big, and you realize that when you have a full house at the Comedy Zone here,
oh man,
it is hard not to just do well. Everything is just set up for you to just go out there and just throw gasoline on it, man. And it's a really, really great club in that way. But that was one time where I was like, wow, this is a get. Like, being a part of that show and getting to spend time with him, because he also came into the podcast. That's when I was
that's
sort of
huge.
filling in with Will Jacobs before I kind of took over the show after he left. So I got to sit with him during a podcast. So we kind of got to know each other more. And it was just being that close to someone that brilliant, that successful. And he was just in the most casual, coolest way. He would just impart cool knowledge.
Yeah.
And,
he can say something and think he's goofing and it actually like means something to you.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that really spoke to me. He's like, I was just messing around, man.
Yeah. We were just skating when that happened.
Yeah, sorry.
What?
Life lesson.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, those are the times. That's what the value for me. A lot of people look down on hosting, and again, here that this being an A room, I've been close to a lot of amazing comics, and you get to spend time and just absorb through osmosis, just being in the room sometimes with them and what it's like. Sometimes you got to drive them around. Sometimes you got to keep people away from them or whatever it might be. And that stuff's fun.
You get a drink with them afterwards or something, hang out.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, like last time Kyle was here, like we hung out like every night. He was up for going and playing video games with Chris Buck, and the three of us like just had the best
awesome.
long weekend.
What a trifecta there. That's good. Those were awesome.
It was a good show.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say that. It was a really good show.
That was a great lineup. Chris is great.
And Kyle just finished his special that hasn't come out yet. So he was like doing a new hour.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And just to watch that, I was like, good Lord, this guy is just amazing.
I got to see the new hour. We came through Zanies, and it is spectacular. I mean, I'm he's my favorite comedian out.
Is he? Oh yeah, right on, man.
For sure.
For me too. He's up there. There's that couple that are 3 or 4 that are in there that are like
in a weird way, he could like hang on and be like our Carlin, like spitting out specials later on in life that you're just like, man.
Yeah, that's good.
So many points.
Comparison. Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah.
So that'd be great. Yeah,
he's that good.
Yeah,
and it's funny that we talked about this a little bit, Drew. That it's funny how someone that's not your style at all can still be one of your favorites. Influential comics,
for sure,
which is pretty cool. I think.
Yeah, it's like a respect thing. I think like Rory Scovel's one of my favorites, and
never do what he does. No, I hear you on that.
Yeah, absolutely never do it. And I've like tried to do it. Like I tried to do it earlier in my career. Where I was like, oh, I can. And you do the cadence. You the joke should work, and you're like, no, he's a 1 in a million. He's the only one that can make this style funny. Yeah.
He's got that voice that makes you trust whatever comes out of his mouth. Like there's so many times on his special where he's lying and making up stuff, and you're like, I believe it. I believe what he's saying.
I'm on board.
He did the one special with a Southern accent, and he doesn't even have a Southern accent.
He's from South Carolina, so hold on.
I know,
we claim him. Okay, calm down.
Yeah,
he's Irish.
All right. He did talk about that where they were like, I think he was on Marin, and he was like, you don't have a Southern accent, and where he was like, I just like to do that. It's funny to me. And I was like, you did the whole hour in that accent.
That's fantastic.
That's fantastic. Yeah, good stuff.
Well, talking more about the Comedy Zone podcast. So you said that were you a co-host with Will for a little bit, and then you kind of like hand the baton kind of thing. Like tell us more about how that came to be.
So they started it. So Brian Baltashevitz, he does the Queen City Podcast Network. Really, really great guy. He's been like, I say this realistically, like on the forefront of podcasting, like in general. He's constantly in like the magazines and the people winning awards, and like he's just doing some very interesting stuff. So he was early with the Comedy Zone podcast. So we were getting everybody who came through.
Nice.
And originally it was Will Jacobs and Spencer Taylor. And then Spencer, I don't know if you guys know Spencer Taylor.
Yeah, no, Spencer. Yeah.
So she's like writing on TV shows.
Yeah, crushing it.
Now. She's like, amazing, right?
Yeah.
So, and then Sammy Jo Francis came in, and she was doing like sports stuff, and then she was doing this, and then she went to LA and she started, getting in the movies and stuff like that. So I was like, I need to get in there so I can then go to LA and blow up,
Yeah.
And after Sammy Jo left, so Will and I, we had it for a couple years, and then Will's he started having a bunch of kids, and he's changed jobs, and he's a lawyer, and
that always blew my mind. I got to work with
Yeah,
him in Greenville, South Carolina, and he was like, "I'm a lawyer. My wife's back in the hotel room with the kids." I'm like, "Okay, man."
All right, man. Yeah, like this is hard enough. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna bringing people for the ride. Awesome. But yeah, so he's a brilliant guy, and he I think it was just the right move to sort of step aside for a while, because I mean, he was still doing comedy and you know,
he's very funny.
podcasting is
Like his
a
comedy
lot
is
of
fantastic.
yeah, very much so. But it's a lot of effort to do a podcast. So, and the longer a minute, the more and more I realize how much effort it is to get guests, and it's just and to be constantly coming up with content. That's one of the things that I more. And I would not normally say this, but I'm more impressed with comics today than I think I am with the older comics, because while they may have been better stand-ups, what we're asked to do now is constant, everyday generating creative content.
Dude, I freaked out
Been asked
today
to do
because I
millions of
hadn't
these.
posted something in 3 days.
Yeah,
I
I
was
haven't
like, what
posted
are
in,
you
like, a
doing,
week, and
man?
I'm
What are you
stressed.
doing?
I'm stressed. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like the algorithm is forgetting you.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're
Well,
like fading away.
I'm gonna lose followers.
And it's even like, and it's like, are we even doing it? Like, I don't mind saying this, but I absolutely despise Vulture, and I think that I think they're
Get
bad
'em.
for.
Get them.
I hate them. Their lists are
Yeah.
stupid. They're
They
out
said
of
all of our
touch.
clips are a waste of time.
Right. Well, they were saying like crowd, and like there was a part in there that I agreed with, where it was like, and I'm not going to say who I'm working for, but like I've been editing clips from New York, and one of the parts of the article was that it looks like a lot of comics are forcing crowd work just to get clips. And based on a lot of the videos I'm seeing, I do agree with that, and I do think that's a problem, because it's boring, and it's just, you know. But this article, like in the same breath, they interviewed a comic about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it's terrible." And then the comic also admitted that he keeps a editor on retainer to give clips. And it's like, so who, like, what are we talking about? Like,
What are we? Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So it's like, well, are we
you're
doing
feeding
this?
the beast you hate.
Yeah. So
Right.
it's just, and like, but again, like, but what if they're right? Like, what if we are killing comedy with clips, and like we should just all revolt and be like, no more clips for anybody, you know?
Well,
like,
I think
who knows?
comedy.
Yeah.
I think we are killing comedy specials. I think comedy specials are going to be a thing of the.
Well, it's not special anymore. That's what everyone says. It's like, what's a special, you know, when there's 1,000 of them. Yeah.
But I mean, that I feel like the industry did that. They didn't want to pay for it.
Oh yeah.
So
I don't think
this is
comics did that.
Yeah, I'm saying this is our do-it-yourself version of a special,
Yeah.
and if that's kill specials, well, they brought it on. I feel like
I still feel like
this is the
HBO's special. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, talk about the HBO special. I'm curious.
Well, I was just saying, I feel like HBO is the only one that I still am like, oh, okay, HBO, all right.
Yeah, but how long until they're like, well, we're not going to pay for the only specials getting made?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I just feel like they stayed consistent. They didn't try and like they're not pumping out a new special every day.
They do what like
Netflix.
4 a year? I feel like.
Yeah, like they still keep
Yeah,
like
right.
Ian Lera
That's
just
smart.
got one, and that I was like excited for that, because I remember Ian starting comedy in New York, how hard he worked, and it was like, for some reason, just seeing HBO and his name, I was like, that's something. That's still, to me, that was very special. But yeah, Netflix is just like, here you go.
The problem with HBO specials is they're fantastic. They look great. They're so nicely produced. Sometimes they fly under the radar.
They do.
Sometimes I hear about someone's HBO special that they did 3 years ago, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I've had that same experience. Yeah, you're like, oh wait, when did that happen? Like, how did I not hear about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the clout that it used to be like in the 90s and 2000s.
Well,
but
that's what I was going to say, is there was more of a formula.
Yeah.
I feel like, Jason, when you were talking about, we're expected to do so much. Like, I know no one has the same path to comedy, but back then it was late night, HBO special, tour the country, then tour the world.
Like in a cocaine addiction. Yeah.
But that's not happening anymore.
Wait, the cocaine's later? God damn it.
Yeah,
You missed up your order, man. You mixed up your order.
Yeah, I got into cocaine. So
that's funny. I got get that out of the way early.
Yeah,
that's really funny. I some of this stuff has been interesting to watch the Georgia Monty thing I was telling you all about. We've been doing this for a while. I don't want to say how long, but we've been doing it for a while. We got invited to the LA Comedy Shorts, which was put on by Funny or Die. in
Oh,
College
cool.
Humor, right? So
Yeah.
we got on like the Funny or Die homepage, and
Oh, that's awesome.
just had nothing viral. We didn't get a million
Yeah.
hits or anything, but
Still though.
the people running it loved it. They thought it was great. So we got there, and it was, you know, it was amazing. There were some panels for this festival, and you know, everybody then was just talking about everyone needs to be producing something all the time. And if you make anything longer than 4 minutes, you're a dinosaur.
Yeah.
And it was just like on, you know, and some of our stuff was like 8 minutes long. And we're just like cringing in the back going, oh my God, you know, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Fast forward about like 4 years later, something like that, I go to a Burbank Comedy Festival, which if you guys haven't done it, it's amazing.
Nice.
It's easily the best one I've ever done. It was a
Really?
blast.
Okay.
And their panels, daily panels, it was the most industry heavy thing I've ever done. And I got some work out of it, and just the people that I met, it was just top notch across the board.
Yeah.
And all the people there, all the panels that were club owners, bookers, casting directors, agents, and managers. Those were like, each day had a panel of like 5, 6, 7 of these people. It was amazing. And they all kind of said the same thing. It was post content every day, get your stuff out there, get followers. If you don't have followers, we are not going to hire you, cast you, represent you. It was just, and you could tell that they didn't want to be saying it, but they knew it was true.
Yeah.
All the comics watching were just, you could feel the air go out of the room.
Yeah. They're like, no.
Yeah, it's like, right. I guess we're editors now too. And I've come to terms with I've come to terms with producing content every day. And because I think I was a little afraid of being able to do it. And now that I do it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is just an exercise in being creative. That's to me is what it was. And everyone's going to do something a little bit different. But I think also, this is just my TED talk now. Sorry.
No, I love it.
But I think I come from the film world. So when I first got into doing some of this stuff, I was like, I'm just worried about lighting, camera angles. How am I going to shoot it like this? And more people who are good at this and TikTok and all this other stuff were like, you are doing way, way too much. Nobody cares. Not only do people not care, they don't want good quality.
Yeah.
They're not interested in good quality. They want it stripped down, just everyday person doing something. Why? I haven't figured out why yet, but that's what they want. They don't want good production value.
Well, there was this weird move, like, I don't know when it happened. I feel like it happened last year, where all of a sudden someone was like, you know what was awesome? Vine.
Yeah, right.
And so all of a sudden, everyone that was on TikTok was like, let's just go back and do that. And and now it's all like you said, like stripped down, and it's much more low. Yeah, because it used to be like, oh, you don't have a glow light? Get off my phone.
Right. Yeah, right.
And now it's
If I could put out a 13-second video, awesome. I'll make that every day. Give me 20 seconds now. It's great. Yeah. Makes me a little bit nervous, but it's because what is that doing to us? And
closer and closer to idiocracy by the second.
Yeah.
Because all right, so this is something some friends have been talking about recently. There's this very weird thing of, we went through the MTV generation where everything is 4-second cuts. You watch a movie today, and for every time a screen comes up, count to 4, and I guarantee that the cut has changed, right? And it's pretty wild. But at the same time, people don't want to sit and watch a 2-hour movie anymore. The 2-hour movie is essentially,
I can't watch a movie. I hate it.
I had to stop a movie and finished it in the morning. It was like 2.5 hours long, and I was like, I want to finish this. I cannot do it. Yeah. Right.
And people want a TV show. They want 10, 12, 13 hours of content.
Yeah.
It's again, I'm not
smart. I can watch 9 episodes of a TV show before I watch a movie.
And when
Who are we?
Yeah.
See, you get it. It's so bizarre.
Yeah. And when these guys are like, new episode every Friday, I'm like, grow up. Give me all of it now. Like, get out of it. Are you kidding me? Like Lord of the Rings, I was losing my mind.
Yeah, man.
Like,
I've also learned that I can't do just one thing. Like now in my brain, when I go to sit down to watch TV at the end of the night, I'm like, well, what else am I going to do? Am I going to draw? Am I going to work on my jokes? Am I going
I
to
guess.
play on my phone? Like, there's no just watching TV anymore. It's
Yeah.
what's my secondary activity going to be? You know, and it's terrible.
I actively try and put my phone down if it's something I've been wanting to watch or something like a show that I look forward to. I am like, all right, I am putting my phone down and I'm actively trying to just watch this.
Yeah.
And then I get like 4 minutes in and I'm just like, but what's on TikTok?
You're right.
Right. I know.
Or especially if you got a
Remember-
video or some kind of content that your numbers watching all day, you're like,
yeah.
I hadn't checked it.
that's-
It's so embarrassing to admit that that's 100% true.
Like you're checking your
gotcha.
story
But
and you're like, oh, good, Drew saw it.
So I had a girlfriend like 12 years ago. Well, I mean, since then too, just for the, but like 12 years ago, and she was a lot younger than me, and that's not a flex or anything, but she always had her
She's too young for you,
laptop.
bro.
She always had her laptop open. We would watch movies and TV and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, get not, it's like, but it always became something that I got involved with.
Two
To be
activities.
like, oh,
man.
what are we doing at the, and then
Yeah.
she was like constantly Reddit boards or whatever of whatever it was we were watching, and so the information was cool, and it was like, oh my god, I'm hooked now on this.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I'm always doing something while I'm watching.
I think they call it
It's awesome.
stacking. I think I
Yeah.
heard that term is stacking, where it's like you got your iPad and you got your computer. And
I
you got
was doing it this morning on sports. Like I watched the sports, but I'm watching a recap of the sports I watched, checking the scores of the sports I watched.
Mm-hmm.
What is wrong with us?
Yeah. Why does everything have a name, by the way, too? Everything's got to have a cool name.
I do
Yeah.
like stacked though. I like that.
Well, I
Just
found that
stacking,
name.
man. Leave me alone.
Well, Dennis Leary. The first time I ever heard the phrase stacking was Dennis Leary was on like a late night show,
Oh, wow.
and he was making fun of his son, who had his son and I went to college together. I didn't know him, but he was like 2 years behind me or something, and he had just graduated. And I remember like I was watching Dennis Leary on late night, and he was like, then like one of the hosts was like, "Oh, what's your son doing?" And he's like, "He's doing this thing called stacking." And I was like, "What is he doing?" Because he was a really good actor in college. So I was like, "Oh, I just assumed he was acting." And then he was like, "Yeah, he's like doing this thing where he like watches the TV and he watches the computer and he watches." And I was like, "Oh." And then I looked and I was like, "Oh, that's a real term."
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Bizarre.
Well, tell us more about the web series or the series that you did. That got you.
Well, we're still doing it. We're actually working on. We're writing a feature script for that, and like I said, we've done a couple of those already, and we have all this footage. So we're writing something, and I'm giving away the goat a little bit. We're writing something that we can use some of the footage we already shot, so we're not sort of encumbered by a full 30-day shooting schedule and all that entails. Because we've got it streamlined pretty well now to shoot. Sometimes it's a minute, but it's usually under 4 minutes, and four of us do it. Two guys behind the camera and the two of us, and we do it for $200 maybe, and it looks amazing. The director of photography we have is a guy we've all worked with all these people for 20 years, so we have access to really, really talented people. So
that's awesome, man.
That
is a very close knit like. That's awesome. You get to be part of two very close knit families: the comedy family, and then the film family, which is arguably even stronger than the comedy family.
Yeah, the for me it was access to because I'm also been in it for so long that I'm also jaded with film.
That's fair.
As a crew member, I'm just like, we're a family. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about
This,
that.
like this family make me go out in the cold and get you 2 coffees every hour on the hour. Yeah, is that what family does? Yeah.
Yeah. But it did get me on camera. And I think my biggest regrets in life have always been being too cool. And I think I wanted to get into acting and things like that when I was in high school, and I just didn't do it. And it took years and years and years before I finally kind of admitted. And we did a couple, like 1 or 2 things on camera, John and I, and it was like, oh, okay, this is actually something else that I would really enjoy doing. And so I've turned that into, nothing's ahead of comedy doing stand-up right now, but it's definitely something that I kind of have some aspirations to do some other things. Like a bucket list for me was always to do a play, do a proper play on a long run. And I've never done it. And it's terrifying to think about that going out there, unscripted. And for me, a fear of, my bad memory is something that I think's kept me from doing a lot of things like play music and things like that. I just would, I can't remember it. And now I probably have, what do we have, an hour plus material in our brains that we can just kind of go do at any moment. It's like, that was just psychological. It wasn't a real thing. I
that
just
first
allowed
time
myself to be afraid of it.
That first time's like, hey, can you stretch? And you confidently can be like, yeah, it's a game changer. Yeah.
One of the best times I had, actually, I was at one of those moments that gives you confidence where you feel like you've leveled up. I did like a showcase for the folks down at the Comedy Cabana, and the guy who was featuring. So the host went, and then I'm on stage, and the feature was late. He had something happened, right? And the owners were just like, oh man, what are we gonna do? We don't have. How are we gonna fill it? And the other guy who knew me was just like, he'll do it. And he walked up on stage, handed me a piece of paper that said, keep going. And I didn't even look at it, kept, and I ended up doing 30 minutes. Thought I was doing
awesome,
10.
Dude. Yeah.
And went and just whatever, and they lighted, and I was like, all right, guys, it's been amazing. Thanks. And then the other guy came out. It was like one of the coolest moments that for me, even like up there doing it, I was like, this is great.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to do this stuff tonight, but here we go.
That's amazing, dude. Yeah, that's
I
a whole nother level of confidence. You're like, I got this.
I think I do that. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And it wasn't like crowd work. It was like pretty good stuff that I was sort of ready for.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. What? So give me a quick, like just a little cliff notes real quick. What is the series about? Just a little, just if no one's ever seen it before, what would you get? So, here's your elevator pitch.
Oh, yeah, George.
Nice one, Drew.
Thank you.
George and Monty are two very opposite characters. One, I'm 5 feet tall and very handsome, and my friend John is about 6'2" and actually handsome. And his character is this sort of not toxically masculine or anything like that, but he's definitely more of an aggressive sort of attitude. He thinks he's just like king of the world, and I'm just an affable kind of idiot, and I don't really know how to do anything. So there's a lot of those jokes of us standing next to each other. The height difference, is also plays towards how different we are, and we'll cut ourselves into commercials. That's a big thing that we've latched onto. So farmers insurance commercials, and I mean, you name it, Freshly commercials and things like that. We will cut ourselves into it, and because we're with such talented people, that a lot of them are pretty seamless. And yeah, so sometimes we're playing characters in the commercial, sometimes it's just us pulling pranks on each other. One over Christmas, we did one where people were wrapping their pets in Christmas wrapping paper. So he wrapped me.
That's fantastic.
And it was, it's just as silly as that sounds, turned out pretty funny. And in the end, it usually ends up with him being hurt in some way. That ends up being like, oh, look at that. He almost died. Look at that. That's awesome.
Nice.
So
now, are y'all
a lot of, back and forth.
Are y'all full scripted, or do y'all kind of improvise some stuff, or like how do y'all go about it?
Yeah, we do both. We write. I would say, and John will probably back this up. Conceptually, John is probably, because he's more of a producer director. The bigger ideas come from John, and I'll write most of it, and then we'll kick it back and forth a couple times. When we shoot it, we worked on Talladega Nights, John and I, together in the location department on that. And it was just amazing to watch, Will Ferrell and Adam McKay and how they worked. And they would literally do the same thing. We just kind of stole it, where they do the script as it's written, and then they will sit there and just riff. And then Adam will be like, say dolphins like to have sex in their blowhole, and then Will Ferrell will do that. And then Will Ferrell will do a couple. And then Adam will be like, try the one with the balls on the drum set or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And we would
great Step Brothers reference.
Yeah, right. So John actually went to LA for a while, and he worked out there and did a couple he did Step Brothers and a couple of those things. So he worked with them even more extensively. And so that's what we do. We do the written part, and then we'll just riff, and it's usually a mix of that, what ultimately ends up being in there. So
that's something that you have to learn early on when you're shooting stuff, is get all the footage you can.
Yeah,
you're never like, oh man, I got too much footage. Just like, I wish we would have got this from a different angle.
Yeah. Well, John he edits most of it, and it's something that now that I'm I don't know. Now I've started editing a little bit and less about that stuff, but other things I'm doing with, comedy special. We all have to do everything now. So it's good to have, get an editing software, figure it out.
Yep.
You're going to need to do it at some point.
That's what the YouTube's for. Yeah.
You don't need college.
Wait, you can edit it on YouTube?
No, I'm saying you can learn how to edit on YouTube.
Oh yeah, right. Oh, absolutely.
That's all, because I went to school for editing and graphic design and everything like that, and all of our professors would be like, if we don't cover it in class, find it on YouTube. I'm like, all right,
it's amazing.
All the
world's car. Information right there.
Yeah.
I tried to fix my car on YouTube and it blew up again. So not all of us are YouTube talented.
Who do you sue now? That's ridiculous.
I'm gonna get this dude from Minneapolis, who once also owned a 2005 Camry.
Yeah.
Class action lawsuit on this guy from Minneapolis. 30 people's cars didn't get fixed because of him, because he taught us wrong.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, Jason, what all are you got? What's in the 2022, 2023 looking like for you?
Oh, I'm excited, buddy. I got so much going on. I'm only partially kidding. It's good to be getting back into it. I just got I got a new hip, which is a ridiculous thing to say for such a young man. Yeah, in September, I got a brand new hip. So if you guys ever want to give yourself a heart attack, just sit back and don't do anything for a month and a half and watch all of your friends and comedy buddies continue to work. And you will think that your career is over and you're never going to be able to catch up, and it's going to be the worst thing ever. But now I'm back on it. So yeah, I've got quite a bit going on, and I'm starting to get a couple headliner looks here and there.
Look at you.
All right.
It's kind of fun. I did the Idiot Box, and I'm doing a couple things for the Funny Business Room, but it wasn't from them. Comedy Zone has put me headline a couple shows. So
look at you.
It's like I think I might be, inching into that little by little. So I'm hoping 2023 will get me more of those shows. And I'm back on the road. I'm doing some shows in basically January through, I guess it's March. I have a handful of shows where I'll be at Dr. Grin's in Michigan, and I'm in Medford, Oregon, and a couple of shows out there. So I'm excited to be actually traveling again. Yeah, and still getting the the Comedy Zone gigs too. So life is good, man.
Nice. I just touched base with Lynn the other day, hoping to see you on some of those Comedy Zone gigs.
Would that be a blast, man? Right. Yeah, we haven't done a show together in a minute.
Right. We got to change that. 2023.
Well, you know what? I say that. What's funny? I said that we just did one.
Oh yeah. Well, that was too much fun. It didn't count. All right.
That doesn't actually count.
Thanks for the invite, guys.
I mean, it was right down the street from your house, so it was at Zany's. It was at Zany's.
Yeah, Zany's.
Oh. I thought it was okay. It was here.
Yeah, it was in that.
All right. I thought you guys went.
What part of down the street from your house did you think I was gonna? It was in L.A.
Lipstick Lounge. Show. I don't know. Were you guys at Lipstick Lounge? Just doing karaoke.
Maybe I do need to go there.
It's Lipstick Lounge is if you're a karaoke fan, by all means.
It's too much
now
fun.
The cat's going up there to poop. Great.
The cat, you guys couldn't see this. The cat was holding the dog hostage in the kitchen. And the dog was trying to go in to get its food, and the cat was just like, can't come in here, bro.
Well, Jason, where can they find your series and just your overall, the countless amount of content we got to put out there?
So much. If you type in Jason Allen King, that actually does pretty good. I got jasonallenking.com. Facebook is Jason Allen King, and comedy as well. And then King Jason Allen on Instagram, Jason Allen King on TikTok. It's Jason Allen, ALLEN. And I got a bunch of stuff on. I try to keep it fresh. And man.
I appreciate your update on the divorce rates out there. I saw that today. That was nice. It has come down. That's nice.
So I'm going to talk about that for a brief second.
Please do.
This was something because somebody else said it on something, and I was like, "There's no way." Is it still over 50% of people getting divorced? I'm like, we've been saying that for a long time. So
Right.
I looked it up. It's 41% now. It's literally at a 50-year low.
change. Yeah.
Is
A
that
50-year low?
Change.
Yeah.
50-year low.
Is that
Yeah.
because
Look at that.
less people are getting married,
I
or
hope so.
because like you can like oh we've been together for 50 years, but we just don't get married? Do you think it's because of that?
I think you can switch.
You know what I think it is? I think people are getting married later, and I think that's probably has something to do with it.
That's crucial.
I don't have that stat to give you right now, but my gut tells me that's what it is.
You mean getting married at 22 is not the best idea in the world?
I'm just saying, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Put all of your
Don't
money
get
into
married
the
at
wedding.
22.
No house. You can barely
Well,
afford your apartment. Just go for it.
Luckily, I never will get married at 22 at this point in my life.
Mentally, you still can get married at 22. So that's cool.
I probably
That's
could.
true.
Probably
Yeah.
could.
Jason, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
You kidding me? This is great. You guys
yeah,
are
dude.
awesome. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks for coming on.
Everyone hit
Yeah.
that subscribe button. Make sure to check out all the fantastic Project Nerd content out there. Thanks again for them allowing us to be part of their podcast family. If you haven't already, check out my special on this YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate it. We just hit 14K.
Oh, baby. 14K? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Short and sexy.
Oh, so we broke 10K and now we're pushing for more, baby.
More.
Oh,
We're
nice.
greedy. We're getting greedy now.
Based on a Drew story.
Check it out.
Based on a
And
true story.
keep tuning in. We'll see you next time.
On it, friends, my boy.